Welcome to another CEO Wisdom podcast. Today with us is Jeff Kaney. Jeff is CEO and founder at Kaney Aerospace. He's building the future of safer, more efficient flights. He's a people first leader, former USAF and commercial pilot. He's a lifelong learner in Rockford, Illinois. So, Jeff, I'm glad to have you on. Tell us a bit more about yourself and what you've been up to as of late.
Yeah, well, born on a farm, family farm, sixth generation born on the family farm. And I live in northern Illinois, about 30 minutes away from the family farm. And after a career, half a career of 10 years in the Air Force as an Air Force pilot and a short time in the airlines, I became a real estate investor buying commercial properties, and then decided that I wanted to leverage that experience into having my own business. So I started an aerospace engineering business in 2006, and in 2007 I quit the airlines and was full-time into the business, and we've grown it from there.
Right. And the real estate investments, did that ever pan out, or was it too much time for you to wait? Why did you pivot into building a real actual business?
Yeah, so I couldn't quite figure out how to turn real estate business, how to scale it, because I didn't really understand at that time that you could actually you could get investors and get money other ways other than the bank. So what was happening, it was just not going fast enough for me in order to replace my airline income. So I kept the real estate and grew that slowly. But then I started the operating company because I thought the real estate would be great for 20 years down the road in retirement, and the aerospace would be and the aerospace business would be great for current income. And so I kind of grew them at the same time. And then when the aerospace business really started taking off, I really slowed down on the real estate portion because I had to really dive into what was here and now.
And how did it take off? When did you know that you had made it big? And is it typical in that business, or is it a hard type of business?
Well, I would call it a hard type of business. It's not the easiest thing. Manufacturing components for aircraft and spacecraft and ships, Department of Defense, is not the easiest and quickest route to grow scale, as opposed to something like software, which is much faster. But everything has its own challenges and plus and minuses. With aerospace, kind of the yin and yang is it takes forever to become to get your customer to be onboarded as a supplier. You have to have a quality control system. You have to have a lot of things under your belt before you can really start moving at scale in aerospace. So that took many, many years of getting the footing in. So kind of to answer your question, I would say I didn't really feel solid to 2012. 2012, I started to feel a lot more solid with the business because I started in 06, and then we started expanding it in 08, and we all know what happened in 08, which in 08 I was fine. In 09 I was okay. 2011 was awful. I had enough business to make it through, and 2011 was just beyond awful. In 2012, I got over that hump, and then I could just see it. 2013 was better. 2014 was better. Maybe by 2015, I could start to breathe a little bit. Yeah. So, like anything else, it's challenging and fun and rewarding.
And how did it take off? If it's that hard and you see many competitors falling down, what do you attribute your success to? Is it your grit? Is it your military background, fighting pilot, fighter jets? So why did you make it while others usually do not make it in your field of business?
Well, I'll answer it in two different ways. The first way is there wasn't a lot of competition, which I thought was a good idea. Generally, I look back on it, and there's a reason there's not a lot of competition. So that's not always a good thing to be one of the few who are starting. I think it had to do with I didn't realize how dyslexic I was until we had our second child, and he was extremely dyslexic. And I think I learned a lot of workarounds. I also learned that, when you hit a brick wall, there's so many options. You can try and go through the brick wall. You can go over it, left to the right, dig a tunnel underneath the brick wall. Like, it's that grit And I was fortunate in the Air Force. I flew C-130s, which was a crew airplane. And I flew some civilian fighter jets in the air shows for years afterwards. But prior to that, I think it was my experience with leadership training in the Air Force, and actually not just being a pilot, but running a crew, that taught me a lot about leading people. Oops.
What kind of challenges did you go through other than 2008, of course? Like what kind of down lows did you face in this business, and how did you get back up?
Well, part of the issue was we found success fairly early on. And what I did was, and I would never suggest anybody ever do this, but I bootstrapped this. I leveraged some of my equity in real estate to start the business. And I have not taken any outside equity, which sounds like a hero's journey at this point. It wasn't our hero's journey, or maybe it was a typical, hero's journey where you're going to run into dragons and these type of things. But Charles, I'll tell you, it was difficult. And we found success in one customer, a multi-billion-dollar aerospace customer that publicly traded company, and they treated us great, and we kept growing within them, and we all knew that 93% of the company of our income came from that one company, but it was a huge multinational company. And then one day, 75% disappeared. Literally one day, one phone call, and it was over. Let me rephrase that. How about 60% disappeared? And we expected it to go down a little bit, but it just disappeared literally with one phone call. So yes, that's an emergency. I think I coined.
That's a wing down.
Yeah, I think I coined the term, but I'm sure other people have come up with the same term. But I like to say never waste a good emergency, because when you're really a leader and things really go bad, right? You can't fake it. People know about it. Your team members know about it. Your family and your friends know about it. You can't hide it. It's devastating. But that's a time to really affect change, because when everything's going well and when you're growing and you're making money and everybody's happy and this and this, to make change is difficult. But when something like this happens, that is a crisis, an emergency. If you have high quality people, which I've been able to surround myself with just fantastic folks, Charles, when that happens, that's your opportunity to affect change. And the change, we didn't have a choice. It was either change or die, because we all knew, my executive team, we all knew, we knew we had to go out and get more work and get more customers, but we were so busy with what we were doing, and it was working so well that we just couldn't you almost felt like if you pried yourself away from the task at hand, that would suffer while you're trying to go out and find new customers, for example, and using this example. But when this customer shrunk by, say 40% overnight, you had no choice. So everybody's on board and everybody dives in. And I have a wonderful executive team that are extremely highly motivated, aligned, and very experienced. And it was all hands on deck, and we made our way through it, and we survived. And we were much stronger because of it. Do I wish I would?
Did you had to let go of staff? And if so, how did you do that? Is there a way to do that?
I did not let go of staff. I asked everyone to take a pay cut on a temporary basis. And I thought for sure, Charles, everyone would quit. No one quit. In fact, I had one gentleman come to me and say, "Jeff, are you sure you took enough?" And I said, yes. I got advice from peers that said, if you're going to do this, take one cut only, make it deeper than you think you need to do, and just get it over with. And I think within 6 months, it's hard to remember, Charles, but within 6 months, I believe that we restored everyone's pay back to where it was. And then over time, we made it up to them. But it didn't end up being that long, and no one quit. We didn't lay anybody off. We just worked our rear ends off and made it work.
Right. And I'm not saying your leadership is not good, it is, but sometimes as an employee, it can be even more of discomfort to think that, yeah, your business is doing bad, and employees tend to have less agency to them, like going and searching for another job is hell, So I went through these tough period as well and lost very few employees back then when I would manage teams of employees. But sometimes as CEOs and founders, we don't put ourselves in the shoes of employees, but these folks hate to go out and fetch for a new job, especially when they've built their house, in your house. So yeah, good that it didn't end up like going downward in a downward spiral, right? Because some CEOs and founders sometimes just panic. They're not as stoic or as disciplined as you are, or as structured as military as you and I are, and I think they start focusing on the bad stuff. They start to let their fear speak, right? And when that happens as a leader, and people that you're leading see that you're not stable and that you're afraid, well, that goes in a downward spiral, and a lot of these business end up actually closing, right? And they give
You
up to
bet.
their greatest haters. It's like, hey, I need to close. I need to stop the hemorrhage. I'm gonna die. This is
You
taking
bet.
over me. So how did you keep your shit together? Is it like natural in you with
No,
your military background, or what
no.
tips do you have for that?
I tell my two boys this, Charles, that I think there's two types of people in this world. There's people who get hit with adversity, um, and everyone, when you get hit with adversity, something like this, right? You lay in the proverbial couch in the fetal position and you cry and you eat Cheetos and I eat ice cream and you go through denial and anger and all those things, right? And everybody does that. But the difference between people that I've noticed is there's a certain type of person that, okay, I'm done crying. I'm going to get off this couch and I'm just going to make it work. I don't know how. I'm going to try my best to make it work. It may or may not, but I'm going to try. And I also have known people in my life, and I'll bet you have also, that never get off the couch. And then they became victims, blamers, and their life kind of just maintains the same. And I've seen that over and over again with the difference between maybe I don't call it the have and have nots, but I don't want to sound like a hero in any of this. But I tell you what I did was I was very as authentic as I could be, because why not, right? I mean, everybody knows what happened. All my team members knew what happened, but authentic and open. And I presented a sketchy plan. I mean, not a sketchy plan, excuse me. I sketched out a very simple plan that this is what we're going to do. And then I kept my people up to speed on what the plan was. I kind of feel like in the middle of an emergency, if everybody looks at the leader and the leader says, here's my plan. I think that whatever you say the plan is, there's going to be a certain number of people who go, okay, he's got a plan. Or she's got a plan. Whew. That's all I need to know is they've got a plan. I don't even need to understand it. And there's some people who really, like, there were people who came in and camped out of my office. Jeff, tell me exactly what's happening. Tell them exactly what's happening, right? The other piece of advice I got during this time is don't ever close your office door during this time, because people will think you're talking to the bank about bankruptcy every time, no matter what. If your wife calls and you guys are having an in-depth conversation, and this friend of mine told me, because Jeff, go sit in a car and have that conversation. Go drive down the block, go have that conversation in a car. If you need to talk to the banker, you need to close that door, get in your car, drive away and come back. Because during those times, you've got to come to work before everybody comes, leave it after everybody leaves. You've got to show this leadership that you're dedicated, that you're in, and to not scare them by closing your office door. And I was like, oh my gosh. And that was a great piece of advice.
Yeah, transparency. It all comes down to your value, right? Like when shit hits the fan, your values are what hold you together. Do you give up or not? Are you authentic? Are you honest all the time, even in crappy situation? Are you graceful, or do you become a demon, a shadow of yourself, right? I'm curious about your time in the military as a fighter pilot. You're submitted to G forces, a very quick decision, communication with your teammates. Ultimately, you're handling multi-million dollar machines, right? What did you learn from your time there, and how did that shape you as a human?
Yeah, so I think that was like I said, I didn't fly fighters. I only flew T-37, T-38s, and then the C-130 transport. And
Okay,
we'd have a crew of
still.
about seven to 10 on board the aircraft, depending on the mission. But, here I was 25 years old. I was the aircraft commander. I was in charge of the airplane, in charge of the crew, flying. When I went to the first Gulf War, I was a brand new pilot, so I was a co-pilot. But I did a lot of flying in Central and South America during the drug wars of the 90s. And you're handed one of the neatest things about being in the military is you're handed a lot of responsibility very young, but you're always being supervised, right? Like we had a command center, and you're checking in, and you're doing that. And any big decisions, you're calling, the pilot in charge, and they're kind of holding your hand. But when you're flying and you're in a bad situation, it's just you and the crew. And sometimes here I am, a first lieutenant, and I remember a trip I was on, and I had a one-star general as a navigator, and I'm in charge. And I want to tell you how cool it was, because that one-star general who was a navigator when back in the days when we had navigators, he was so awesome. He let me lead. And there's learning in that. He was a one-star general. He let me lead. He let me do my job, and he did his job when we were in the airplane. And that I learned a lot from. His name was General Michael Lee, and I worked for him as his executive officer. But I really watched him as a gentle leader, and I learned a lot. He was the antithesis of what we see in the movies. Didn't ever raise his voice, didn't have to. He just had the gravitas of a general, right? And I really learned a lot about leadership from him because of his just quiet demeanor. I'm not quiet. I talk a lot more than he does, but he doesn't bang his fist. He never banged his fist at the table and demanded respect or any of this type of thing.
And what did that taught you? Like humility? Like, I'm not the most humble person as well. I am quiet, right? Like, I don't talk a lot, but I'm also very realistic. And if I did accomplish it, I'm gonna tell. So, what's your leadership style nowadays? As someone that made it, right? That had all these accomplishments. I also saw Harvard in your profile. What's your take on humility, humbleness? Is there too much of that nowadays, or you can never have enough of it?
I think it fits your style. I think everybody has a natural leadership style. And unless you have practice leading, it's hard to figure out what your leadership style is. And I believe that is why some people, when they get promoted, they never really had an opportunity to lead things. So all of a sudden they're in charge of a department or these type of things. They've never had the opportunity. They never got to hone their skills as a leader, right? So they never had leadership school. They never been in leadership scenarios. So they're trying it out for the first time under fire with their job on the line every day. And I was fortunate when I joined the Air Force right after college, to go to that's basically leadership school, and watch leaders and say, well, listen, I don't want to be like him. I want to be like her. I want to be like him. Like I want to emulate that. And then you find out what your natural leadership style is. And you do it sometimes by the school of hard knocks, by quite frankly, screwing things up royally. And there's times when apologies are in order. And, I think a good leader will take the apology road and say, listen, I screwed up. I made the wrong decision, or I misspoke, or my anger got the best of me in this situation, or who knows what it is. But again, I think it's maybe we talk about authenticity. Maybe it's being authentic to yourself and the way you like to lead.
Right. And on a daily basis, I mean, you're still growing every day at a guy like you. What is your routine nowadays? Like, how are you keeping this brain of yours active and constantly learning on it on a daily basis and improving as a leader?
So I think it's like anything else. There was a book, I can't remember what it was called. Um, the gentleman who did Freakonomics, but it wasn't Freakonomics. Help me.
The same author of Freakonomics?
Yeah, I just lost his name. We talked about 10,000 hours. It wasn't his idea, but he had
Oh,
think.
Malcolm Gladwell.
Yeah, so Malcolm Gladwell, one of his books, talks about this study that talks about
Outliers.
10,000 free throws, 10,000, and 10,000 hours flying an airplane, and
Yeah.
these type of things to get really good at your craft. Well, guess what? Leadership is a craft also. So one of the things that I did was I gravitated towards opportunities where I could lead without a lot of risk to me. So being on boards, joining business clubs like Young Presidents or YPO, Young Presidents Organization, has been beyond impactful to me. I mean, like really, really, really impactful to me. And getting an opportunity to be on the board of these organizations and practice leadership in those ways also. So I'm exposing myself to opportunities of not just practicing leadership myself, but observing other leaders and how they're leading. And like anything else, you got to have practice doing it.
Interesting. And tell me about you've been through the Gulf War, the war on drugs, I guess. What do you have to say on the U.S. Foreign policy, their leaders, their hegemony in this world nowadays? Like, when you're a leader and you have that much power, do you feel the U.S. have done a good job foreign policy wise at maintaining the world order? And in your opinion, is that going to change in the next couple of years or decades?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's easy to become the leader of the world when you hold most of the money. Right now, we're the largest economy in the world. And that makes it a little bit easier to have some agency in the rest of the global stage. So, yeah, I don't know. I hope that we continue to be a leader for all the right reasons, and we help our folks.
Because there's a lot of folks talking trash about that, but I think it's also easy to talk down on a leader when you haven't been there, right? And you haven't wielded that much power. And I think a whole bunch of other countries wouldn't do as good as a job as the US if they would have that power. Like you said, they've never had leadership before. And when you put it in their hands, things would probably go south, wouldn't they?
It might. I'm not an expert in this area, but I will tell you this. I believe that leadership is about having a clear vision and then creating alignment around that. So you have a clear vision of where you want the organization to go, and then you create a mission around that vision about the mission of the company, and then you create alignment around that vision. And then you let your people, you hire as best people as you possibly can, and then you let them go and go do that. And it's it's kind of a loop. It's not static, because you've always got to keep your eye on the economic market and the technology, no matter what you're in, to see how it's changing. So you might have to adjust your vision, which adjusts your mission a bit, and you need to realign around that. And to me, that is how I lead. And then if everybody understands, and so I'm always kind of checking in on alignment. And most people may not realize when I ask a specific question, it's all about alignment. Are we doing this? Are we doing that? Should we be taking on this project or not? Does it fit our core goals? And a lot of times when I ask those questions, I honestly are asking my experts, should we take this program or not? And they will say, yeah, for all these reasons. I'm like, I'm in. Good, wonderful, that's great, because all I want to be is assured that it still meets the mission of today, because it changes. And I didn't really understand this whole thing that people have been talking about for the last long time, about how life is changing very quickly. And I just look at the retail sector, how, when I was a little kid, everybody got their shoes at Sears and their jeans and their school clothes at Sears and JCPenney, and Sears is gone. JCPenney's I don't know what they're doing. All these, and Amazon's ruling the world, and people are like, well, Amazon's going to be around forever. No, it's not. It's on top of the hill now, but something that I don't see will probably come up in X number of years and knock it off, right? But it's happening quicker and quicker and quicker. So you've got to have your visions. You've got to be educated with what's going on globally and locally, politically, technology-wise, so you can execute this dream.
Right. I believe when the founder, like if Bezos is gone, like Amazon won't stay the same for sure. And that's true in any companies like Apple without Steve Jobs. What do you have to say about aerospace companies? For example, the Boeing 737 MAX scandal that happened. Was it handled well PR wise and from a leadership perspective? Is this how you should handle things, or?
I think that there's a class on how you shouldn't handle things, and the 737 MAX would be a good class on how to do things incorrectly. If you think about what I was just discussion about alignment and mission and vision, that got lost at Boeing. And so you had some actors, I'm going to call them middle management, okay, for lack of a better term, not the executives and not the presidents, but people lower than that were doing things that weren't right. And they did things incorrectly. They said things incorrectly. They sent emails they shouldn't have. They spoke up when they shouldn't have, and when they should have spoke up, they didn't. And it could have been. It's a cultural thing, and Boeing lost its culture. Whether it's Boeing or Sears, whatever, they lost their culture. They lost their mission and vision, and people start to wander, and that's when bad things happen. So did they create a product that had a problem? Yes, they did. Did they handle it poorly? Definitely handled it poorly. And I'm not putting, there were lives that were lost, and that's very serious business. This is a very serious business that we're in. But I guess just as a case study, I believe that their leadership broke down over years, and they just lost that recipe. And I hope that the new CEO Kelly, he seems to be going back to basics and getting concentrating the core business and getting things back on track. And when you think about it, and you look at, for example, what Boeing's doing today, the new leaders and the new board, they didn't come in and go, oh my gosh, we have to radically change this. They're like, let's just get back to our core, and let's worry about the core, and let's build on the core, and let's get back to making incredibly popular, very, 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 very safe aircraft. That's our mission, right? For defense and for the civilian market. And let's quit worrying about all this rest of the stuff, and let's get back to the core. That's not that doesn't take a PhD to figure that out, right? But
right.
It just got out of hand.
Yeah, I guess that's what happens when you just put like too many Big Four consultants in one room, right? And you outsource too much stuff to them. You sort of lose track of the basics, which is that you're in an industry in which people will lose their shit if you don't reassure them, if you don't communicate properly, if you don't make them feel safe. Just like banking, right? In Silicon Valley Bank, people lost their shit, and because of that, Silicon Valley Bank is no longer. Very good lesson there.
Yeah, I just finished a great podcast with the CEO of JP Morgan Chase. And he talked about Silicon Valley Bank, and he talked about the 2008 financial crisis and these type of things. And my big takeaway from that, Charles, was interesting, is he spent a lot of time on risk and measuring risk, and that was something that I'm like, oh, that was Jamie Dimon, and he talked a lot about how he spends time measuring risk, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to start adding that to my mix and start thinking about risk. And how to measure risk, and that was a great takeaway. He's a sharp guy.
Yeah, because even FTX, they didn't spend enough time measuring risks, and that's the core of their business. I mean, that's banking. You're not in banking. I'm not either, but that's banking. If you studied banking at university, that's what they teach. That's the basics. So Yeah, and thinking of risk management in any field as a founder of a CEO or even in your own life is incredibly beneficial, right? It's decision making. How much probability do I have of ending up in trouble if I do that? Yes, if I do that. So I guess we already do it, but yeah, it's a good thinking framework. Where can people find out more about you, Jeff?
Well, I'm my LinkedIn page on Jeff Kaney Senior, and Kaney.us is our Kaney Aerospace company. Yes, either one of those.
So I was Jeff and Charles for another